I'm Brian Cook, and this is Kendra Cox, and we're here today with DiscoverWoodward.com, and we're with Keller Williams Realty Elite, just investigating Woodward and the great people we have here in the city of Woodward.
All right, so today we have with us Alan Riffel, City Manager for the City of Woodward.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. We know that you have got a packed out schedule, and so we really appreciate you taking time to hang out with us for a minute.
My pleasure.
All right, so we've talked a little bit off camera. I didn't realize this, but you said you've been in Woodward for 20 years.
Almost 20 years,
Almost 20
yeah.
years.
So I came here in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was to be the city manager, and came here from Anadarko. Had been there for 25 years prior to that.
Oh, wow.
And so have spent the bulk of my career really here doing the business of Woodward. So.
That's a lot of longevity, 25 years there, almost 20 years here. And we like to see that. But so you've seen a lot of things change in the last 17 years in Woodward, haven't you?
Yes, a very different community now than when I arrived, absolutely.
You just mentioned that you've seen some things that we've been able to do in the city of Woodward that we've put out there, and the community has said, yes, let's do it. And the biggest one that popped into my head was Crystal Beach. I mean, I remember playing in the Crystal Beach Park whenever I was a kiddo, and it's a totally different park now, and it's wonderful. And I mean, so as an adult, can go out and walk and play tetherball. And let's talk about the tetherballs later.
Okay,
If we could,
sure.
okay? Let's talk about the tetherballs. But I mean, there's some great things at Crystal Beach Park. Do you want to address a little bit about
Oh,
that?
absolutely. Because that was the first major undertaking, and that really came about because the baseball team, the Travelers, had left
Yes.
town and wanted to come back,
Uh-huh.
but needed a better ball field.
Right.
And so it spurred that, okay, we can't improve just a corner of the big area out
Right.
there and address that. So we agreed to develop a master plan for that. And so local groups of people had input into different segments. Golfers addressed the golf course, and cowboys on the rodeo group, and
Right.
and various things like that. So that was overwhelmingly approved, and really spurred a lot of what has happened since then.
It helps to have somebody else who has some input. So you'd said the Cowboys helped with the rodeo, and I'm sure you probably had some moms helping with playground equipment, and,
Exactly.
and some dads that are
Mhm.
hands-on. I think that's really important, but shows one of those fabulous things about our community, that our community has good community involvement, and I like that. Would you want to address that?
Well, it's essential to have civic engagement. I mean, we work
That's
for
the term,
the
civic
community.
engagement. I told Brian I don't have a vocabulary today.
But that's it. I mean, we work for the people of the community. This is their building. All of these
Right.
facilities are owned collectively, and so we don't want to presume what's good for everybody. We want to engage everybody to share their opinions and ideas with us,
Right.
because you know as well as I do that the more heads you get involved, the better it is. Sometimes they butt heads, but still we come out with an end result that's very
Absolutely.
appealing, and has invited more and more activity. The numbers of people that are in the park now as opposed to what it was before
Absolutely.
is just no comparison.
It is. It's fantastic. Another big project that has come to mind is the fire department. What a heck of a building! But it provides so many things with the lodging and training areas and place
The
for those
exercise
trucks.
and all
It
that.
was just fantastic. So I mean, we've seen some major growth in our community.
And I think one point that needs to be made regarding that, because it is a nicer, more pleasing aesthetically than
Right.
most fire stations. But that's what the governing body, the city commissioners, agreed or decided to do when we first started all these community development projects, and that is quality projects, that we may not be able to do everything, but we want to build something nice that will last long after we're gone.
What has surprised you about how people view your position as city manager?
Well, I think people don't have a real idea of how city government is structured.
Sure.
And out of 450 some communities in Oklahoma, there's about 125 that have city manager forms of government. And so they're the larger communities, obviously, but
Right.
essentially, as a city manager is the CEO of the organization, where the mayor would be the chief elected official. The city manager is the the boss of bulk of the services that are delivered. I mean, any city service, whether it's emergency services, fire and police, streets, parks, sanitation, water, sewer, all of these things are the daily work that we do, and so we have that chain of command, and that ends with me.
Sure. I think the other thing that surprised me, or that maybe has come to light and has been more apparent to me, is there are some things that you have control over and some things that you don't. And sometimes I think it's confusing because like we mentioned a minute ago, Williams Avenue and Oklahoma Avenue, those are actually U.S. highways, right?
Correct.
And so, whenever I am frustrated because we have road construction, am I frustrated with you?
First off, you are, sure.
Is it really
because
on
local
you?
government is easy to call and easy to reach, you're going to call us. And then
And what
we'll
are you
say,
gonna tell me?
we're going to say, we will be happy to assist you, but that is something that the state highway department is going to have the authority to regulate, not us. We can't tell them what to do.
Right. I think it's confusing because it's in your town and you think, well, this is where I live and this is where I drive, but it's not necessarily mine because
Correct.
it's a government. I'm sorry,
US government.
state. Yeah, state or U.S. Yes. So I think that's important to recognize too. But I'm sure you have the right. So whenever I call you and I say, "Hey, this is frustrating," you point me in the right direction. All right. So tell us, are there kind of some exciting things coming up? What do you see projected for Woodward?
You know, we do have a lot of things in the works and things that are constantly going on. Yes, we do the day-to-day deliveries of we're going to make sure that water runs and trash gets picked up.
Right. Thank
But
you.
we also do the business development. We are actively recruiting businesses all the time as well.
Wonderful.
And we work with, we have certain buildings and properties that we own that we can be able to incentivize an industry to come in and set up shop and employ our people here. So we are constantly doing that, and I will say that there are a couple of things on the horizon that we think are going to be able to bring substantial jobs to the area. So we're excited that those things are in the works.
What's your sales pitch then? Because you mentioned something, and I liked that you mentioned that. You said we have to have something different than just we have great people, because we do. We have the best people.
Right.
I mean, I always say that, but now every time I visit with somebody new, and I say, "Why are you here? Why do you love it? What do you tell people?" And they say, "We've got great people." We do, but you said we have to have something a little bit more to bring in an industry. So can you give me your 30-second sales pitch?
Well, obviously when the national corporations, if we try to get a Lowe's or a Target or something
Right.
like that, they look at just demographics and have a model that they're going to attach to overlay on our community that doesn't necessarily
Right.
fit, because we're used to traveling long distances. And everybody in this tri-state region
Right.
is familiar with our way of life, and so it doesn't necessarily compute to a table where some heads are thinking about, well, how do we make this work
Right.
there? So if we can't relate to them that the numbers are smaller than what you'd like to see, then we're going to sweeten the pot a little bit with sales tax incentives. Maybe if we have a facility that we own, we can forgive rent for a period of time.
Oh, great.
Those types of things that if you're going to locate X number of jobs here, it will equal this incentive.
Yes.
And so we can be able to identify companies that have that need and work that fit to make however many different angles we can come from, stack them up and then propose them to whichever corporation or company is wanting to consider Woodward.
All right, so we mentioned a little bit about all the really amazing things that we've done at Crystal Beach, and so now we have the event center there.
Yes.
But then over at 34th Street on the west side of town, we have the conference center. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, let me go back to the origins of that too, because when I came here in 2003, there had already been a feasibility study performed for the city of Woodward, actually the Industrial Foundation, stating the need for a conference center. There were ideas of what that should look like and where that should be that wound up being a little different than what we ultimately wound up with, but at that point in time, it was 40 acres of pasture land.
Right.
We didn't have the college, and the college was our first goal to be able to identify a spot for them to locate. And that we would be able to control the remaining acreage of it. And so, over a period of a couple of years, some city fathers and I went to a number of meetings with OSU and with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and got that 40 acres for 200 years. We got 299-year leases at $1, and so we were able to develop those long-term. And the conference center was one of those undertakings that we did exclusive of a vote of the city. We had the stream of revenues that we could provide and service the debt to build that. And the commissioners agreed that the feasibility already is stated, that it will make a good sense to be able to have that as a venue for the community. And we didn't know how to project the traffic or the volume of business that would do, so we really were setting arbitrary goals initially, which was to have 50 events in a year. 52 weeks, if we're going to get one almost a year or every week, we'll be doing fine. First year we had 150, and we've had exceeding 200 events there every year. So
that is fantastic. If somebody has a question that would be city related, you want to share the number for the city offices and the address for the city offices?
We're at 722 Main, that's the corner of 8th and Main, and so we are 254-8512 is my direct office number, and so you'll reach my office if you have a need to, or if you don't, we'll point you in the right direction.
Perfect. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.